Siomra beag.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Sherlock. Sure listen, the podcast that takes a pop at culture. Sherlock. Sure listen.
Sherlock, 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 sure listen. Oh, very exciting, Benjamin. We're here a day late and 10 or so kilos overweight. Benjamin, I have a text from the listeners here, and they're wondering why you, Ben Colopy, the son of a bitch, have made their episode a day late. And it said here that you were off gallivanting. So I have another demand here from the listeners that you apologise.
Lads.
We don't have time for that, Benjamin. We've got too
sorry.
much to cover, including The Substance. I've seen The Substance with Demi Moore and Margaret Qualley. And both of us have seen Agatha all along. And guess what? It was Agatha all along. And, Benjamin, both of us have seen the trailer for Marvel's new exciting slate of stuff that no one cares about. From Marvel Plus, D23 or whatever. There's a trailer or whatever. God, who cares?
Sure listen, Michael. We don't have time to talk about nothing but old Half Moor. We also are launching a brand new segment.
A brand new segment, Benjamin. Sure, that only happens once in a blue moon.
Well, it's happened quite a lot in the last 3 months because we're trying to make life easier for us, Michael.
Yeah,
That's what
A
we're
bit
trying
more,
to do.
a bit more stability, Ben. A little bit more autism-friendly podcasting.
That's what I want. That's all I want.
That's all you
But
want.
come here to me. Michael, I'm bloody inundated these days with so many adaptations and spin-offs of my favourite characters that I can't keep up with them all.
How are you supposed to keep up? Benjamin, sometimes I'm watching Spider-Man and I say to myself, who is this fella? Who is this Peter Parker? That's not the Spider-Man I grew up with, Miles Morales.
Yeah, hang on a minute, gang. Is this an Elseworlds? Is this a Prime Earth? Where am I? What's going
Who's this
on?
Who's this Bruce Wayne fella?
What is this?
When
What
I
do
was
you
a young
mean?
lad, Thomas Wayne was Batman.
Yeah, when I was a boy, it was bloody Jor-El who was flying around Metropolis, scooping up the Lana Lanes.
Yes, very good.
Yeah.
Very good mistake there, Ben.
That took a bit of effort to actually make that good a mistake. My brain really scratched there. But, ladies and gentlemen, we do get an awful lot of versions of characters
I'm not a virgin.
that we love. No,
Oh,
you're not a
versions.
virgin, Nick.
Sorry.
Not a virgin.
No, I'm not. I'm married.
Not even a little bit? A little bit virgin?
Sometimes it grows back. Sorry, Ben, I keep ruining your intro. Anyway, we have versions. We have loads of virgins. Go on.
We've loads of virgins, and we've gotten to the bottom of it, ladies and gentlemen, and we want to know, is Venom a virgin? Or is he the best virgin? That's today's topic, ladies and gentlemen.
Is Venom an incel, Ben? That's what today's podcast is about.
Arguably, yes. Look, Mick, we're taking a look at Peak Venom. Peak is going to be a new recurring episode format for this podcast, Sherlock, Sure Listen, where we take a look at the best damn version of a character that's out there, be it on the television, could be on a video game,
Video game. There's one there. Look.
could be a comic book.
Oh, there's. Oh, hold on. I prepared for this, Ben.
Oh, this is fabulous.
Hold on. It's Miles Morales.
Oh my God, it's Miles Morales.
Miles Morales.
Go. Look at him go. But that's what we're going to do. We're going to take a look at him. And Michael, we put this out to people. And we got some unnerving comments on TikTok. You can find that link down below in the description, ladies and
Oh,
gentlemen.
very exciting.
Very exciting. We also got some interesting takes on it, both from the comic fans and Tom Hardy fans. They're deranged, Michael. Deranged.
I thought you were going to say Tom Hardy himself.
Oh, that'd be great. I could get Tom Hardy for this podcast, Michael. That'd really turn our fortunes around. Do you know what else would turn our fortunes around?
Would it be if the listeners gave us a review?
Yeah, go on there, ladies and gentlemen. If you're listening on Spotify, give us now 5 stars.
5 stars. Remember that time when I shouted at Ben at the start? 5 stars.
5 stars. Some top class aggression in an audio format, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, look, it'll be so mean. You won't be able to see him, ladies and gentlemen, unless you hop over to YouTube, where you can see Mick threatening me with his fists right now. He's a rather large man. It's intimidating. And I'm behind a screen on the other side of Ireland. But there you go. Oh, goodness. Glorious stuff. You can find our
that
YouTube
podcast,
link
you son of a
below
bitch.
in the description as well. Give us a follow, give us a like, and follow along. Ladies and gentlemen, you can give us a review on Apple Podcasts if you want, Or, if you'd like to be part of these shenanigans, finding out what formats we're using, voting on your peak Venoms, etc., why don't you hop up on the Discord that's linked below there? It's going off.
Hop up on it. Going off is what young people say to mean like popping off, not we're shutting it down.
What?
That's very cool, Benjamin. Benjamin, so who's this Venom fella anyway, first of all? Let's get that out of the way.
So, Michael, Venom already is kind of a peak villain, isn't he? Like, he's one of the go-to ones you'd pull out of your head when you were going for classic superhero adversaries.
Benjamin, to quote a modern trend, he'd be on the Mount Rushmore of Spider-Man villains.
He would, yeah. He'd be right up there. His big, bloody, ugly-buggly face and a giant long tongue. It'd take ages to carve that, Michael.
Take fucking ages, Benjamin. The structural stability would be very poor. You'd have Dr. Octopus, or Doc Ock to his friends. You'd have Green Goblin. You've had Venom. And you'd have Morlun. And they'd be the 4 villains.
Yeah. I wonder, is that why Doc Ock is always trying to give Peter Parker a smack? Is it because he doesn't regard Spider-Man as a pal and therefore takes issue with the uncouth nature of being referred to by a familiar name?
Don't call me Doc Ock, it's Dr. Octopus, I'll have you know. I didn't go to medical school for 7 years.
I didn't do 4 years of a PhD in theatre lighting just to be called Doc Ock.
Take that, theatre lighting PhDs. Benjamin, shut up for a second. Anyway, Venom, yeah. Best Spider-Man villain. Interesting thing about, though, best Spider-Man villain. Best Spider-Man villain, the only Spider-Man villain on the Spider-Man Mount Rushmore who's not from the Stan Lee, Steve Ditko era.
Yeah, absolutely. So, look, there's 2 major origins for Venom. There's the real-world origin, which is kind of what we're interested in right now. And then there's the comic book origin of the gooey little symbiote that attaches itself to other people.
He's a little gooey little fella.
Yeah, so when we talk about that, it's null. Dun, 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 dun.
No, it isn't.
Shh.
No, I'm not having this. I'm not having this, Ben. This is a retcon. People don't care about this null Clintar nonsense. This is not peak Venom. Peak Venom has nothing to do with null. I'm not having it.
That's true, Michael.
You can talk about null if you insist. Null and Clintar and Venom symbiote planets. But get shagged, you virgin. Not you. Null. Null's
Get shagged, you virgin. New merch, ladies and gentlemen, with that written on it. Link down below in the description. No, but come here to me, Michael. The first appearance actually came in 1984's big Marvel event, The Secret Wars.
Buy our toys.
Buy our toys. What if, right?
Yes.
And I'm not saying this was a cold and merciless cash grab by the Marvel overlords of 1984.
It was, though.
It was, though. Everybody's bought a red and blue Spider-Man. What if we made him black?
Make a black suit Spider-Man. Make him cool like Jessica Carpenter, everyone's favourite Spider-Woman played by Sydney Sweeney.
And then someone in the Marvel offices went, oh yeah, that'd really help us reach a new demographic. And Stanley went, no, not that kind of black.
Oh, fuck. Oh, that caught me off guard. Oh, I love a Stan Lee's a secretly a racist joke, Benjamin. There's some of my favourite Stan Lee jokes.
But anyway, what happened was...
He's dead now, so it's fine. You can impinge him all you want.
Jim Shooter, the writer of Secret Wars in 1984, said, oh yeah, let's get a battle-damaged Spider-Man, so you could get that figurine. And then let's have him interact with some weird goo. Let's do that.
Oh, everyone loves weird goo in the 80s.
Love a bit of weird goo.
In the 80s, yeah.
Yeah, xenomorphs and venoms. Just gooey black boys. Ooey gooey. But yeah, so then we got that, Michael. And it was kind of brushed over in the Secret Wars event. Spider-Man got a new cool costume. He was a bit buffer. Felt a little bit more of a zing, a zap. He took his vitamin D, if you'd like. He felt a little bit better. But not
Do you mean penis?
quantifiably.
Do you mean he wasn't a virgin?
Wasn't a virgin. He got shagged, as the motto of this podcast goes.
Yeah.
That virgin got shagged. Pew, pew.
Good lad. Good lad, Peter. Well done.
But come here, Michael.
Yes.
Come here.
What I'm listening.
Where we actually saw that start to impact Spider-Man narratively, so to speak, was in The Amazing Spider-Man number 252, where he began to don the black suit to fight a bit of crime.
Oh, yeah. Just back on Earth, was he? Chilling.
Just back on
doing
Earth.
Earth stuff.
Doing Earth stuff. And one of the great things about this, Michael, is it kind of took a cool direction for Spider-Man, because Spider-Man has always been the wisecracking, web-slinging, kind of friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, and it turned him into a dick.
Yeah, turned him into a grim, dark, 80s, serious 80s character.
Oh, I fucking hated it, Michael.
It was the 80s, though, Ben. Everyone was serious towards the end of the 80s.
I was serious towards the end of the 80s.
Seriously conceived.
Yeah, woo! I was seriously conceived towards the early 90s, Michael. But anyway, who knows?
know,
Maybe
Ben,
I was
remember.
seriously considered before that. I don't know. I like to think I wasn't a mistake and my parents planned me, but who can say? It's not like
Just
they're going
like
to tell
Venom,
you.
Ben. Just like Venom.
It's not like... Exactly. But anyway, Michael, then, of course, that led to a more violent, homicidal, murderous version of Spider-Man. And Spider-Man began to have a moral scrap with himself, where he was like, I don't know if I want to be a big 80s dickhead. I don't know if that's...
Head.
Yes, Richard Head. And Michael, luckily, at the time, Peter Parker had gotten himself a nemesis, not Spider-Man.
Oh, who was it?
That nemesis, Michael, was none other than Edward Brockington.
Edward Brockington, known as Eddie Brock to his friends. Now, Benjamin, I'm going to cut across you here for a second.
Yeah.
Because, and here's a question I have for you.
Oh, no.
Now, I don't know this because, unfortunately, I didn't have time to check because there's just so many Venom origins and histories. And this isn't a research-based podcast. Eddie Brock follows Peter Parker to the church where he uses the sonic bells, the ringing of the church bells, remove the symbiote suit from himself, because it turns out the symbiote suit is very sensitive to sound waves. Yeah. And the symbiote suit drips down the church tower onto Eddie Brock, Spider-Man's nemesis. Now, every adaptation of this story since the first one has had the good sense to introduce Eddie Brock before they introduce the suit.
Yeah.
So that they have a kind of background human nemesis for Spider-Man.
Yeah.
This is my question, and this is a genuine question. This is not a leading question. Did they do that in the comics? Or was Eddie Brock introduced and then they told that story through flashback?
No, so Eddie Brock was introduced as a competing photographer for young Peter Parker at the Daily Bugle. And the reason that Eddie Brock took issue with Spider-Man is because J. Jonah Jameson was constantly saying, I hate that Spider-Man.
Get me pictures of Spider-Man, he said.
And of course, Peter Parker has an old inside track, Michael, because he is Spider-Man.
Son of a bitch.
And a great deal, many of the early issues of Spider-Man and plots of Spider-Man was Spider-Man placing his camera using webbing so that he could do little selfies.
Now,
as he kind
Benjamin,
of zipped around the city. You know?
Yeah, I've just popped open the Marvel Universe wiki here.
I hate you so much. Yeah,
No, and it says he made his first full appearance. Eddie Brock, not Venom. Eddie Brock made his first full appearance in The Amazing Spider-Man 300 as the most well-known host of the Venom symbiote. Am I wrong? Have I got my history mixed up here? Or are we retelling the common... certainly in the 90s cartoon and in the Spider-Man movies, they introduce him as a journalist first. But I was kind of thought that maybe in the comics they introduced Venom first and then flash back to who this Eddie Brock character was.
No. So,
okay, you tell me.
the origin of Venom takes place across 2 issues, Michael.
Right, go on.
Issue 298 and 299 of The Amazing Spider-Man, right?
Yes.
And the very first appearance of Venom comes at the end of that, after we witness the kind of shock panel of Venom ripping down a picture of Spider-Man off the thing.
Son of a bitch.
Son of a bitch. Right?
Yes.
And we kind of don't know it's Eddie Brock, but we kind of do know it's Eddie Brock. So you're not wrong. They're being intentionally mysterious in that classic buy the next issue bollocks that they did back then, Michael. And we don't know who's pulling the strings, but we know that there's a new character in town called Venom.
Venom, we are Venom.
Yeah, we are Venom. And in that, Michael, that is our first appearance of Venom. Okay? 100 then is considered the first fully fledged appearance of Venom as an antagonist. So we get a glimpse of him at the end of 299. And then in issue 300, he's the brand new boy in town.
A real son of a bitch.
Eddie Brock, on the other hand, Michael,
Yes.
was popping up all over the place
Go on.
back in the day. So he pops up in 298, Michael. But technically, way back in 1986, Michael, he appeared in Web of Spider-Man number 18 as, and this is my favorite fact about Eddie Brock, he appears as the hand that pushed Peter Parker into the subway.
Retcon. That's a retcon. Don't lie to us, fucking Stan Lee, you son of a bitch. Anyway, Ben, look, it kind of doesn't matter because this is classic Venom. This
Venom.
is large, bigger, more muscular,
Yeah.
big spooky eyes, but broadly speaking, Spider-Man humanoid with the one exception being the terrifying head-splitting grin.
Yeah, so that's a big change, and it's typical Todd McFarlane, Michael. Todd McFarlane, of course, is writing the book at this stage, because when you wanted an edgelord character, Michael, to make his appearance, you got Todd in back in the day. Todd McFarlane must be one of the most successful comic book artists of all time at this point. From
Yes, probably.
Yeah, so Todd McFarlane is part of that kind of era of heavy render.
Yes.
Michael, we talk about it on this podcast sometimes. Heavy render is the massively bicepped, inked to within an inch of its life, hyper gritty and detailed comic illustration period that became wildly popular from the mid 1980s until at least 93. Let's be honest, Michael.
Let's be honest. Stuck around.
Let's be honest. And Todd McFarlane has gone on record and kind of said, he was asked, where this came from. Where did this character kind of, emerge from? And he said it was a complete and utter happy accident because when I was taking over Spider-Man was in the black costume and I didn't like it. So I wanted to put him back in the red and blue costume.
Yes. I like drawing it. It's more detailed and I'm weird and mad and love drawing all those webs.
Yeah, and then, of course, we got this idea of the symbiote as a living costume, and that's another Todd McFarlane classic, Michael. He does it as well with Spawn, this idea of a living, kind of breathing costume that inhabits someone. And he gave a reason for that as well. He was asked, why are so many of your costumes living things? And he said, because it's easy to cover up mistakes when you say, oh, well, the costume is alive and kind of changes on a whim. And he fully admits that. And I think maybe what makes Todd McFarlane such a beloved comic book artist is that he turns around when he does something silly to save himself time and he goes, I do it to save time, instead of people who are like, I just don't like drawing feet. And it's like, well, that's not true.
What makes Todd McFarlane popular is his brass neck. Benjamin.
Yeah.
Anyway, this Venom, right? Peak Venom. Is this peak Venom? So here's my question for you as a Venom enjoyer.
Yeah.
Your peak Venom, how globally is he?
So
go on.
No, go on.
No, I've asked you a question, Benjamin. Answer it.
It was a rhetorical device. Now give me the context, you little shit.
Do you like your Venom to be mostly a large humanoid man with a build like Arnold Schwarzenegger on steroids? Excuse me, on more steroids? Or do you like your Venom to be a shape-shifting, gobbly black ink man who mostly stays vaguely Spider-Man shaped? Or do you prefer your Venom to be a giant, well beyond human proportioned, globally black ink monster who has no relation to Spider-Man whatsoever?
So, Michael, I am firmly into my Venom.
Your peak Venom. What's peak Venom for you, Ben?
Peak Venom for Venom.
Yes.
is big ugly buggly tongue, long slavery saliva, very elongated jaw, huge white Spider-Man symbol stretching across the arms, around the back, doing the whole 9 yards. He can extend his inky webby stuff out all over the place. He can turn into minor constructs. He can get a bit bigger. And most importantly, Michael, his transformations from Eddie Brock to Venom are utterly gross.
Oh, utterly gross and horrible. So the sleuth doesn't just slick back a little bit. It has to be gross and horrible.
It's one of these guys.
What are you showing me?
Look at that.
What's that,
at
Benjamin?
that.
It's so small. I'm going to have to move my face terribly.
Oh, never mind. It's a good old classic Mark Bagley interpretation of the Venom character, Michael. That's peak Venom. Right there.
Go on. Tell us.
So, Mark Bagley, Michael, Todd McFarlane did the Lord's work in giving us a great foil for Spider-Man. It's a character who hates Spider-Man so much that he parodies him and makes fun of him, essentially, by becoming the antithesis of him. He's a big, ugly, buggly, people-devouring, soul-destroying being that just hates Spider-Man.
He fucking hates Spider-Man. He hates Spider-Man. And Eddie Brock hates Spider-Man. And that is so key to defining who Venom is, Ben. And any story where Venom doesn't hate Spider-Man, in my opinion, can suck an egg. Back to Mark Bagley.
Go suck a fucking egg, right?
Not
if you
Mark
don't
Bagley.
hate Spider-Man. But Mark Bagley is the artist who would come on a little bit later, Michael, and he gave it the more animalistic shine. So, to a degree, Todd McFarlane's one is the Arnold Schwarzenegger in a black suit on steroids with a little bit of Spider-Man parody about him.
I'd say a lot of Spider-Man parody. I would say the most Spider-Man parody. This is the version he's a bodybuilder in the black suit. He's doing webs. He's not doing black globulys. He's shooting webs like Spider-Man. He's sticking to walls like Spider-Man. He's climbing around walls. Later iterations of Venom kind of forget about that. You don't see, what's his name? Tom Hardy.
No.
You don't really see Tom Hardy climbing walls and Spider-Manning about the place.
No, he doesn't do that at all. He is not in any form a parody of Spooderman in the later stuff. That's because Sony's a bunch of dickbags.
They can't organise a piss up in a brewery.
No, not a chance, Michael. Not a chance. But then along came Mark Bagley, and Mark Bagley went, look, it's all well and good just having a black-suited version of Spider-Man, but why don't we distinguish him just a little bit more and make him even more of a bloody threat?
Mark Bagley, the bagman, as you call him.
Yeah, the Bagman. Old Mark the Bagman Bagley is what I call him, Michael.
That's because he's Ben's cocaine dealer as well, though. That's just a coincidence that he's...
Yeah, he's a really nice guy. Great prices. But come here to me.
South Dublin, Ben. What can you do?
What can you do? It's an epidemic, Michael. It's an epidemic. We're all doing it. But come here to me.
Fuck, this'll get delisted now, won't it? Because you just admitted to being a cocaine fiend.
A fiend, I tell you. A fiend. But
the bagman, Mark Bagley, Benjamin, you'd be hanging. Anyway, sorry. Yes, what did Mark Bagley do?
Mark Bagley, Michael, came onto the scene and decided to give him a brand new lick of paint and said he really zoned in, Michael, on the fact that the suit is not a suit. It's a symbiote. And that notion of a parasitic organism that grafts itself to a host and enhances them really started to feed into this kind of animalistic iteration and living, fluid being iteration that he would go on to create. He created this idea of a predatory parasite that was buffed up to Spider-Man-like proportions. And that's where we get the huge swinging jaws, the massive tongue, the, frankly, Olympic-sized swimming pool amount of spit that seems to come out of old Venom.
Yeah. Was it the old bagman, Benjamin, as well, who kind of started the idea that he might glob his arms out at you and his arms might turn into a big mouth?
Yeah. Begins, I suppose, Mark Bagley's tenure on the character, Michael, begins the Venom spin-off proper, or the symbiote invasion of Marvel, if you want. what we started to get from there, Michael, was certain symbiotes can do certain things, and of course he would then introduce one of the most infamous symbiotes in Marvel after that, who's Carnage. Carnage would come from that. And this is all Bagley. Bagley kind of creates this new iteration of the character, and he's quite distinct, Michael, and he's a big, ugly, bugly guy. And then, of course, Michael, that would be timed very, very well, because he would then release a little mini run for the character.
Oh, do go on a little bit.
Probably the biggest inspiration for Tom Hardy's outing as the character.
Yes.
Lethal Protector.
Now, Ben, again, correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't Lethal Protector the one where we find out all this stuff about the Sin Eater and him going to prison? And am I misremembering things here?
I don't know. Are you?
I don't know. I can't remember. I can't remember if this is the one. This is the one about his origin story. Isn't this Venom and Carn origin stories? Aren't they both in Lethal Protector?
They're both in it, but not for the reasons you might think, Michael. So Lethal Protector has a very unusual story, Michael, in that Venom makes an agreement with Spider-Man that they'll leave each other alone. So,
sound.
Now, Michael, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you, right?
Yes.
Were a giant symbiotic being from the stars, hell-bent on eliminating me.
I'm not.
You're not, but if you were...
No. If I were,
and you'd been doing it for years, let's say 7 years, Michael. The length of this podcast. If you had been hell-bent on reefing me from limb to limb for 7 years, do you know if you came to me, Michael, and said, all right, look, we'll call it quits?
All right, yeah.
I don't think I'd fucking believe you. Yeah, so he comes up to Spider-Man, basically, and Spider-Man comes up to him and goes, look, all right, we've had our differences. Why don't you just go your way? I'll go my way. I'll leave New York. That's important. I'll leave New York because I've caused you nothing but hassle, Spider-Man. Mea culpa. No, you're right.
I'm sorry.
Should you? Do you want to leave? No, I'll leave New York. No, that's fair. And so he slinged his hook, or slinged his web, as it were. All the way over to San Francisco. And he takes up with a group of Californian mole people.
As you do, yeah.
Or
Californians as we know them.
And yeah, so he decides to become the Lethal Protector. He decides to take a note or a leaf from Spider-Man's book and try and do a bit of heroing. But he does so, as the name might suggest, Michael, in a less than pacifist fashion.
That sounds very similar to the Venom movie series featuring Thomas Eugene Harvey.
Yeah, it does. Exactly, Michael. And then, of course, that also introduced the concept of the Life Foundation symbiotes.
Oh, the 5 of them. Generic. Yeah. Boring. The female one. Spitty and Dave.
Yeah, so that would be Scream, Riot, Phage, Lasher, and Agony. But you're spot on.
That's exactly what I said. Is that not exactly what I said?
So this was kind of the grand spinning off of symbiotes and making them kind of more of a thing that you would see in the thing. And then Carnage would come after that, Michael.
Sure?
Oh, he came before that. My apologies.
He came before that. That was my mistake. I was wrong. Carnage isn't in Lethal Protector. Carnage is from the normal run before that. And Carnage is what inspires Venom to have to work with the goodies because there's a worse one.
Yeah,
so when Venom teams up with Spider-Man, it's not out of the sense of being a lethal protector or being a good guy. It's out of a sense of there's something worse than me out there, and it's kind of my fault. So let's get rid of it.
In one of my least favourite story tropes of all time, I'm a big, scary, ugly, bugly man. Oh no, I've created an even scarier, ugly bug. I hate that. I'm just like, no, Venom is great. He's lethal. It's good. Why not just have them on even footing, but have him a bit... But Carnage is the ultimate symbiote on Earth. He's terrifying. And he originates the notion of constructs as blades from the symbiote and spiky things and all that.
So he's a step removed from Spider-Man, as in, okay, he goes back to the red colour, so he does look a little bit like Spider-Man that way, and he's more of the Spider-Man build, but he doesn't really have Spider-Man powers. He's good in a fight with Spider-Man. He's an interesting foil for Spider-Man because He's small, he's agile, he can shoot out all sorts of horrible tendrils and blades and saws and gross things. Venom later ends up going down that road sometimes. For example, Benjamin, in the 1991 Sega Mega Drive game, Spider-Man, it's just called Spider-Man here, but it was called Spider-Man What's the Kingpin Up To in some countries.
Yes.
But in this, you come across Venom a few times. And Venom in this is Big Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And he just shows up, he shoots webs at you, he web swings. The big kind of trick of him is he doesn't set off your spider sense in the comics, but he does in this because they forgot. And only a short 5 years later, Venom started appearing in the Marvel versus Capcom series of games. I don't know how familiar you are with them.
I didn't know he appeared in that.
He did, Benjamin. He appeared in Marvel Superheroes. And in those games, he's gone full globally man. So he's still a big, muscular Spider-Man, but he's more Mark Bagley in the sense that you said. He's hunched over, he's dripping drool everywhere, he's got a 6-foot-long tongue dangling out of him, he's got huge clawed hands, but also he can gloop himself along the floor and have a mouth appear underneath you and grab you.
Yeah.
Or, you know, he can shoot out some of his black tendrily body and goop you up that way. So he's further and further from the Spider-Man power set. He's not just bigger, stronger, evil Spider-Man. He's going full glob. But the glob powers, to me, are Carnage's powers more than Venom's.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a big part of it, I suppose, is that he was very ill-defined depending on where he was adapted to. And I don't think he works as a liquid boy, a demure boy. I think he's supposed to be this titanous, uncomfortable alien other, if that makes sense. That's who he's supposed to be. You know, it's just it's the way things should go.
Is he goo or not? That's the question. Benjamin, some of my favourite alternate origins for Venom come from the TV shows and movies as well. And it's funny because I cut you off when you tried to give the Clint Hartnell origin of Venom. And I stand by that. We're not talking about it. Fuck it. But in almost every version other than the original comic book version, where he gets the super suit on Battle World in a bloody vat.
Yeah.
Almost every other version of Venom start with Venom coming to Earth stuck to the side of something.
Yeah, I mean, the most notable example of that, and possibly the one that we've all absorbed over the years, Michael, is from the Amazing Spider-Man TV series, the animated series, Spider-Man the animated series from 1994. That's a series of episodes loosely defined as the Alien Costume Saga. And the Alien Costume Saga features the son of J. Jonah Jameson.
The Man-Wolf himself.
The Man-Wolf himself. Old Manny Wolf.
Yeah. Manfred Wolf, I believe is his name.
Manfred Wolf Jameson. But Manny Wolf to his pals because he doesn't take his dad's second name. But he comes down and attached to the ship, Michael, is none other than Venom.
Yeah, a bit of glob.
And he finds his way to Spider-Man. He's seeking out a power source or a strong host. And in fairness, Michael, you couldn't do much better than Spider-Man, who remains one of the healthiest and strongest characters within Marvel.
Yeah. Well, I mean, depends. In the 80s, probably not. But now there's a superhero every 25 meters. So it'd be shocking that he wouldn't end up attached to someone else first.
Anyone else. Literally anyone else. But thankfully, back in the 80s when he was introduced, Michael, there was like 6 superheroes in New York.
Yeah. The only problem I feel with that origin, that secondary origin, and the Venom movie, Venom, deals with this quite well by not having Spider-Man in it. So it averts this problem entirely. But every other version needs some sort of contrivance to make it so that this gloop gets on to Peter Parker.
Mm-hmm.
Either, it sensed his power, or he was in the park that day, or Peter knows the man who was in space, or
In this case, it's all three.
Yeah, exactly. He knows the man who was in space. He happened to be in the park and it sends his power. There's so much contrivance to get around the fact that this was done to sell toys. And it makes giving Venom a satisfying origin in things very difficult. Like in the 2005? 3? When was Spider-Man 3 out?
Oh, that's a good question. You spin your wheels, I'll...
In Spider-Man 3 with Topher Grace, the hoops they had to jump through to get the Venom symbiote onto Peter and then give him his evil arc within half an hour of the film and then have him lose it and then have it go on to Eddie at the same time as introducing Sandman and at the same time as introducing New Goblin.
Oh, too much.
Too much too soon. Sam Raimi was right. He knew it was a bad idea. That Venom, Benjamin, what's the problem with that Venom?
It's too shit.
He's too small.
Well, so I think possibly the biggest problem with that Venom is he is like one of those Times Square mascot people that take pictures with you and then threaten to beat you up if you don't pay them. He looks like one of those. And they kind of took away one of the most important parts of Venom, and the thing that makes him unnatural and alien, is that he's disproportionate. He's huge. He's a big, hulking mass of ink, essentially, and he's ugly buggly, and he contorts himself like Spider-Man, but it doesn't look right, Michael, because he's too big. He shouldn't be able to touch his lats. Yeah. That's not how it works.
How's he able to do that?
If you took a sticky note and slapped it square in the middle of his back, he wouldn't be able to get it.
He wouldn't be able to. He'd have to use globs or whatever.
You'd have to use globs or whatever. But come here to me.
What?
In that, it's a combination of, number one, pardon me, Topher Grace wasn't given a lot to work with.
No, God bless him.
God bless him. Topher Grace turns out a good egg all along, but we'll get into that in another podcast. Yeah. Number 2, did a great job of some of the graphics, and then just phoned it in on others. That was a very jarring experience. I actually quite enjoyed the ferrofluid kind of animation of the symbiote. I thought that was pretty interesting, where it kind of sticks out little tendrils and pulls itself along. I was like, that's suitably spiderish. But then, Michael, do you remember the thing that we talked about a little bit earlier? The worst part.
When his face comes back so that you can see it's still Topher Grace.
Yeah, and then they just leave it that way because the VFX budget didn't stretch that far.
Just leave Topher Grace's face sticking out. Why not?
Leave it alone. Just leave it alone. So he didn't do great. And it's a shame. That was 2007, by the way, Michael. I meant to tell you that.
Was it that late? Wow, just a year before Iron Man. Holy Monjolis.
Just a year before, Michael. Just a year before it all changed. But then, I think, Michael, what's so interesting about that is it completely loses the animalistic thing. And it didn't really give the symbiote a personality. One of the greatest shifts of the character, Michael, is that the symbiote gets more and more of a personality as it progresses through Marvel's comic book history.
Go on.
And it becomes a case of you either wear the symbiote or the symbiote wears you. And it's a really important thing. Because Eddie Brock is not the only host who's ever had a bloody symbiote.
Debbie Brock.
Debbie Brock's had a go on it.
Yeah.
Sam Brock. John.
Brock,
no, I'm kidding. There's no John Brock. But Mac Gargan, Michael, got a go on it.
No, he didn't, Benjamin. Mac Gargan's the Scorpion.
Yes, Michael, you would think that. But no, in fact, Mac Gargan did get to have a go of the symbiote for a very, very important reason. Mac Gargan has been Spider-Man's punching bag for the longest bloody time.
He's the Scorpion, Ben. All he wants to be is up on that Mount Rushmore, but he's not there. He's not him, Benjamin. To quote
he is not there, and he should not be there. Mac Gargan is a guy who wears a suit. It has a mechanized tail that shoots acid. He's generally, depending on what origin you put in there, he's generally sent to hunt down Spider-Man, and traditionally just gets his ass kicked.
He's fairly C-tier, isn't he, Ben? to quote the young
He's a C tier kind of guy. And that all changes, Michael, when he gets a chance to wear the symbiote.
people. Oh, yeah.
So Eddie Brock gets cancer
Oh, no.
within the world of Spider-Man. This is how this came to be. And the host, or the symbiote, abandons him because he's no longer a suitable host.
Those symbiotes, they're real pricks.
Well, it depends on what way you read it. I think it's been retconned that he parted ways with the symbiote and didn't want it anymore because he thought it originally gave him the cancer, or it was eating away at him while he was dealing with cancer.
It probably was, Benjamin, and then they retconned it.
And then they probably retconned it, Michael. But anyway, he decided to get rid of it. He put it up for auction. And there's a pretty famous run where that takes place. And I quite enjoy that version of the symbiote because it shows the symbiote to be a parasite, which is the way I like my Venom symbiotes to be.
And that's funny because you hate parasites. You don't want them
I
in
do.
you.
I do, but that's why they unnerve me, Michael. I like them as dickheads, not as helpful little things. Because, ladies and gentlemen, if you have a parasite,
Get rid of it.
get rid of it. It's not going to give you superpowers. Stop that.
Yeah. Get rid of it. Just start your own podcast. You don't need them. Bloody took one of us down a notch there, but I don't know who.
Shall we leave it ambiguous for the sake of our friendship, Michael?
For the listeners, yeah. We'll retcon it in about 15 years, Benjamin, that it was Clintar.
Yes.
Fuck off, Clintar.
Clintar,
Bullshit.
you son of a bitch. But anyway, there's a whole thing where he does an auction and someone buys the suit. At first, it's a mobster who buys it for his son, Angelo Fortunato.
Ah, sounds very fortunate. I ain't no fortunate son, Benjamin.
Well, Michael, as that issue progresses, it turns out that he's a little bit of an Angelo Unfortunato.
Unfortunato, Benjamin. You fucked that
Unfortunato.
joke. Could have been great.
That's
Could
a
have been a
shame.
great joke, but you fucked it.
I'm going to do it again. Well, Michael,
Hold on,
that story
I'll
continues.
give you a clean take.
Well, Michael,
Yes.
as it turns out, as that
Yes.
issue progresses, he turns out to be a bit of an Angelo Unfortunato.
Fucking great stuff. Oh, that's fabulous. That's a
I'm going to leave
fabulous
both
bit
of
of
those
work.
in, ladies and gentlemen. You've sat through both. But anyway, it leads to a fantastic panel, Michael, that seared itself in my brain as a young comic book reader, where Angelo Unfortunato
That's what we're calling them.
is very inexperienced and doesn't know how to bond with the symbiote correctly. So it essentially
virgin.
becomes a thing of, I want to go right, but the symbiote knows it would be better to go left, if that makes sense. Because the symbiote hates Spider-Man and knows how to fight him.
Yeah, wants to kick his ass.
But they have such a schism of opinion that the symbiote actually abandons him mid-leap.
Nice.
And what we get is poor Angelo Unfortunato
Hits the deck.
just plummets from the New York skyline as the symbiote leaves him behind. And then Matt Gargan gets a go. Now, it's short-lived for Matt Gargan, but he gets a great treatment in the Thunderbolts comic after that, Michael.
And Dark Avengers. Isn't he in Dark Avengers? Isn't he
And in
Norman
Dark
Osborn's
Avengers.
Dark Avengers.
And one of my favourite things is that Matt Gargan is slowly shown to be a man with little to no backbone. And what that means is that the symbiote is wearing him and not the other way around. Because the symbiote becomes this creature of unbridled cannibalistic want. And
Yeah,
he
no
eats
use.
people all the time. And it becomes a very interesting thing. And it's kind of a body horror moment for the character because Matt Gargan apparently, there's a couple of scenes where it's hinted at that Matt Gargan, when he takes the symbiote off, ends up throwing up human remains and shitting out human remains.
Ah.
So he's forced to digest what Venom is eating. And it becomes a really tragic case study for Matt Gargan because Matt Gargan keeps telling people, I'm not a monster. Like, it's not me that eats people. And everyone's just like, yeah, all right, Mac.
Yeah.
Whatever
I
you
saw
say,
you, though.
Chief. I saw you eat someone, though,
Yeah,
wearing
yeah.
the symbiote.
Yeah.
Um,
And you're going, we are Venom, not I am Venom, Max.
Yeah. And of course, Michael, that leads to some of the worst versions of Venom ever when Eddie Brock leaves Venom behind.
Hooray!
Including your favourite Venom, Anti-Venom.
I've no time for anti-venom. I don't care about anti-venom. I don't care about anti-venom nearly as much as I don't care about Null. It's look, Benjamin, 45 seconds for anti-venom. That's all.
That's all we're getting.
Because
So
we're talking, this whole podcast is about to be is supposed to be about what is peak Venom, not what is worst Venom. So he should just be off the table straight away.
yeah, well, Venom, the classic
Yeah.
character, is majority black with some white symbolism.
Yeah.
And to really show the difference, Michael, this Venom is majority white with a little bit of black symbol.
Right, Grant, fuck it. Let's move
And he
on.
becomes the Punisher, but for symbiotes.
Yeah, who gives a shit? Ben, Agent Venom, next one that no one cares about. Flash Thompson, he's lost his legs, but he's got a venom.
Lots of people like him. So
No, they
as-
don't.
One of my
Benjamin,
favourite things about
Did
Agent
anyone
Venom.
on the internet... Oh, sorry, go on.
Go on.
Go on. You
Don't
go.
give out
You go.
about people on the internet where we
Did anyone
predominantly
on the
pitch
internet
this
say
podcast.
Agent Venom is peak Venom? Because he's
Yes.
not. No, they didn't. If they did, they're
Yes,
wrong.
they did.
Who said it?
Yes, they did. Yes, I'll find it now.
Is this American military fetishists?
Who knows, Michael? Probably.
'Cause that's what it is.
Concept-wise, I'd go Agent Venom was never...
Mind the truth.
Oh, hang on. I'm going to move my thing. Was never really a fan of OG Venom. So I think we can discount that person from a mile away,
Yeah.
Michael.
I don't like Venom, so my favorite version of Venom is the Venom that's not really Venom.
Is the bootlicker version for the American industrial military complex.
Right, you've taken it a notch further than I have.
Nah, fuck them, Michael.
For Agent Venom, really. Let's be honest. Who does?
No. He is... Yeah, so Flash Thompson within the Spider-Man comics loses his legs. He goes to serve his country. He becomes a very heroic asset. Of course, loses his legs and then can't actually be of any use to the military. And what is, frankly, Michael, one of the most unrealistic representations of the US military ever, they try to help a fallen soldier.
Oh, you took them down a notch, Ben.
Yeah, they try to help a vet. Well, they don't really, Michael, because they subject him to the Venom symbiote that they have modified for correct usage in tactical applications, Michael. It's shite. It's not real Venom at all. Real Venom is a big ugly boogly boy. But I suppose, Michael, we can't go any further without talking about the synthesis of all we've talked about symbiote-wise so far. The lethal protector era. Sorry, I lost my ability to speak there, Michael, momentarily.
Yes, very good.
The cannibalistic monstrous thing, the strange wise-talking quippy version that Todd McFarlane and Mark Bagley put together, where he has weird asides and chats away to himself. That is a huge part of the character. The big lashy tongue. And Michael, then they went and stuck Tom Hardy in him.
So, look, I have no issue with Tom Hardy as Eddie Brock. I think Tom Hardy
pretty good.
as Eddie Brock is pretty good. I think it's
Pretty
pretty
good.
good casting. Personally, I would prefer bigger because I like my Eddie Brock to be bigger than my Peter Parker as well. Although I know that the internet thinks Tom Hardy is big. He's not. He's about my size. He's a normal-sized man.
Mike, will you leave your fucking baggage at the door? Jesus.
Look, Tom Hardy is a normal-sized man. But I like Tom Hardy as Eddie Brock. I don't even mind the version of Venom that they do in this movie. He's a little bit too gooey for my tastes. I prefer
gooey.
I prefer him to be more just an enhancing suit rather than an almost entirely separate entity that borderline doesn't need Eddie. That's my
Leonard.
issue with this depiction of Venom. Like, they go through the whole thing of saying, I need a host to survive, but Eddie brings very little to that arrangement.
Almost nothing.
Almost nothing, to the point that Venom is popping off as his own character talking to Eddie. It's not really a symbiote. It's a superhero being driven around by his chauffeur in a lot of senses. And the reason that for me that the Tom Hardy Venom is not peak Venom is Venom has to hate Spider-Man. And not hating Spider-Man deprives this character of their entire reason to exist, in my opinion.
Yes. If you don't hate Spider-Man, what's the fucking point?
And they tried to angle towards it, but again, to throw back to an hour ago, Ben, Sony, Brewery, piss up, they've ruined it.
They always do. Sorry, I'm trying to get my cat down off the table here.
Yeah, she's doing a ferocious amount of mic licking there. Get down off there.
She's podcasting.
She's podcasting.
She has
She's doing
thoughts on
ASMR
Venom.
podcasting. Actually, look, Benjamin, this will be our most listened episode now because there's cats in it. So
Booping the microphone. This is ridiculous.
great stuff. Great stuff. Unruly cats. It's like having a Venom symbiote in the bloody shot. So
I was just
for
about
me,
to
Benjamin,
say.
for me, Tom Hardy Venom is not him.
No. It's an impossible... The hatred is such a core part of what drives and what represents the fear of Venom for a lot of... He is a being of hate. He's a relentless furnace of hatred, Michael.
Yeah.
And that's what he's supposed to be. And he's supposed to be a little bit... He's supposed to be what would happen if Spider-Man didn't hold back. Because one of my favourite Spider-Man tropes in all the stories is every once in a while, someone else hijacks Spider-Man's body or someone else gets a spin in Peter Parker's shoes. And one of my favourite things is I'm going to give him a smack like Spider-Man would do, and he takes someone's jaw clean off. And everyone goes, oh, Jesus fucking Christ. What do you mean? That's a love tap.
Benjamin. Funnily enough, when he did that, that was Dr. Otto Octavius, who we mentioned earlier, inhabiting his body. And the person he did that to was Matt Gargan.
Yeah, as the superior Spider-Man and the Scorpion.
Ben, can I tell you then my peak Venom?
Go on, tell me.
I think you could probably guess from all the ranting and raving. But for me, and there's no right answer here, but for me, peak Venom is the 1994 Spider-Man animated series Venom. And here's why. He's creepy. He's evil. He's essentially a large black-suited Spider-Man with those powers, which I think are vital. Those are his powers. Spider-Man, but bigger and stronger and meaner. He's got the long lashy tongue. He's got the scary eyes. He's got the creepy double voice. And because it was a couple of years after the introduction of Venom in the comics, they had the luxury of being able to introduce Eddie Brock almost from the start of the series. So Eddie Brock's hatred of Peter Parker isn't introduced later on as a kind of retcon of, oh, and by the way, the person inside the suit also hates him. Isn't that good motivation? We see what we did. We see what we did. We introduced Eddie. We introduced the black suit. The black suit plays the part in Eddie's downfall, which again is one of the better aspects of the Topher Grace portrayal. But the Topher Grace portrayal isn't big and scary and intimidating. So for me, Benjamin, peak Venom is the 1994 animated series Venom.
I'm inclined to agree with you, Michael, purely because, right, that was the first version of Venom I ever saw. I was a kid in 1994. I saw the Spider-Man thing on Fox Kids a bunch of times. Do you know who did the voice for the animated series Venom?
Hank Azaria, wasn't it?
Hank Azaria does the voice.
Yeah.
It's
very
Mo.
versatile.
That's Mo, ladies and gentlemen, and a Pooh, controversially, on the
Very
Simpsons.
versatile voice actor. One of the greats. Benjamin, who did the listeners think was peak Venom?
Oh, we had a few calls, Michael. We had a few shout-outs for a very specific game that came out on the PS2 years ago, Michael. The Ultimate Spider-Man game, which was set in the Ultimate Verse, Michael.
Oh, not my personal favourite Venom. In that, Venom is a lab experiment rather than an alien.
Yes, and he was created by Peter's father. And he is a big man-eating creature, but you could play as him in the... you could play as him in the game, and it was kind of fun to romp around the city and chew people up and do all that kind of thing. A lot of people, Michael, went for Bagley, Mark Bagley's iteration of the character in Lethal Protector. They felt that he had a lot of the humour that they enjoyed from the character. One commenter gave us a very strong pick, Michael. They said, any version, provided they don't draw Venom with toes. I'm very against toes on Venom. And
that is so true, because he's supposed to be a suit.
He's supposed to be a suit, and one of the great flaws, Michael, occasionally of Thomas Hardy's one, is that sometimes Venom has toes in the animated show. It's all wrong.
Yeah, because it's not a spider suit.
It's not a spider suit. Silliness. So we got a good few shouts there, Michael. But that's we're gonna have to wrap up peak Venom.
Yeah. Look, I'm calling it there. You've nearly changed my mind a little bit. I do like the Lethal Protector era, and I like the the beginning of the kind of banter back and forth with himself, but I just don't know if it beats out him as a baddie, Venom as a baddie.
Yeah. He needs to
and
be
I
a
don't
villain.
know, and I don't know if it beats out again the luxury of having the time to tell the origin.
Yeah.
Instead of retcon the origin.
Yeah, you can see, ladies and gentlemen, a few great examples of early comic book Venom on our Instagram or on our TikTok, which are linked below in the description, because we did a little, as a little warm up to this very episode. We took a look at some of our favorite panels, including one where he's dressed as Galactus.
Ah, very good. Benjamin, we should point out for the sake of future episodes of Peak, or Peak Venom in this case, it's not always going to be the original was best.
No, definitely not.
Definitely not. For example, Benjamin, I don't think anyone is out there saying that the original version of Star-Lord is better than the version from Guardians of the Galaxy 1.
Absolutely not, Michael. There's not a soul alive who's saying the original version of Cyborg from the Teen Titans is the best.
Yeah, there's not a soul alive, Benjamin, who would tell you that the best version of... Fuck, I'm winging this. There's not a soul alive who would tell you that the best version of The Flash was the Wally West tin hat wearing... No, not Wally West. Tim Allen tin hat wearing Mercury boots version. There might be.
Ladies and gentlemen, we were so close to a great episode, and it's just derailed itself there at the end, and I am left distraught. The only way you could pick me up, ladies and gentlemen, rebuild my shattered sense of self, is to give us a review wherever you've been listening, because if you've made it this far...
Yeah.
You like us, you really do. Now, Michael, I don't know if we have time to do anything else, do we?
We bloody have to, Ben. We've got 10 minutes. Let's do it.
Okay, we've got
What are we
10
doing?
minutos, gang. 10 minutos. So, Michael, you've been a busy, busy boy.
Look, listen, have I seen The Substance? Have I seen The Substance? I have seen The Substance. Is The Substance fucking great? Yes, The Substance is a fabulous film. Is The Substance a David Cronenberg-esque pop nightmare? Absolutely. Is the whole thing shot through grotesque fish-eyed lensery so that every character is awful and close-up and disgusting? Yes. Is it weirdly psychosexual and nudie? Yes, it is. Would you, for example, want to watch it with your parents, Benjamin? No, you absolutely wouldn't. There's too many nudie people in it. Does it descend into Cronenberg-esque madness towards the end? Yes, it does, exactly as you would expect it to. Because people are told not to do something. And I tell you what happens, Benjamin. They fucking do it.
Classic people.
Classic fucking people. You just can't tell them not to do something because they will, in fact, do it. Is it 40 minutes too long? Yes, it is. It is 40 minutes too long. There's no need for it to be over 2 hours long. But it's very good. It's a very good film. It's a fabulous performance from Demi Moore. It's a fabulous performance from Margaret Qualley. It's a very unsettling appearance from the man from Inner Space, Dennis Quaid.
Dennis Quaid.
Yeah. Other people are in it, but they're really the only three that matter.
Yes, old
very
Half Moore
good.
herself.
Very, very good film. But, yeah, overlong.
Michael,
But
I would
fabulous.
enjoy it if all of your reviews took that format from now on. That was an autistic person's dream. It was
Just questions.
Boom, boom, boom,
Boom, boom,
boom.
boom. I
Answered
also saw
everything I could
Transformers
want to know.
1, Benjamin.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and as a Transformers fan, I don't know if you know this about me, but as a dyed-in-the-wool Transformers fan,
Dyed in the wool.
I'm appalled at myself that I didn't support this in the cinema. Because this film, Transformers 1, which came out a few weeks ago in the cinema, it was a box office success, but not a blockbuster. And it really should have been. And it's a shame that even Transformers fans such as I didn't go to see it because we had been so disappointed by 15 years of Transformers cinematic dreck.
Yes, that is unfortunate.
If this film had come out in 2008, at the start of the superhero boom in cinema, and we hadn't had the Michael Bay films, I think there would have been some complaints that it's too kiddie, and there would have been people who would have preferred to see a live-action, real Cars version. But this is the best Transformers animated movie since the Transformers animated movie.
That's great.
You could level all of the complaints of modern cinema against it. It's too quippy. It's too bantery. It's very much a Marvel movie. there's one female character in it, and she's unequivocally the best at everything, and she has to put up exasperatedly with all of the bumbling male characters around her. You know, and she's played by Scarlett Johansson, so no surprises there. It's the character who goes on to become Optimus Prime is a bit bumbling and a bit silly, and it doesn't have that air of almost childish regality to it that the original Transformers had. It doesn't have this mythic feeling of this regal, stoic Optimus Prime. And I get that they're telling an origin story, and I get that they've been heavily influenced by the last 15 years of cinematic superhero movies. But that sounds like a complaining, because I was grinning like a moron for the entire runtime of this film, poking my wife and going, "Look, it's Ironhide! Look, that's Ironhide! He's going to turn into Ironhide later! Oh, look, it's Red Alert! There's Red Alert! And he's turning into a red car! Isn't that fun?" So it has nearly everything that a Transformers fan who was sorely disappointed by the 7 or 8 cinematic entries wanted. And I wish we'd supported it a little bit more.
Oh, we fucked it, ladies and
We
gentlemen.
fucked it.
We did.
Anyway, Ben, you've seen Agatha all along.
No, I haven't, Michael. I've seen most of it up until the finale this very, very week, Michael. Yeah, look, Agatha all along, Michael, breath of fresh air, and it's done one thing
of fresh air.
very much so, Michael. It's done one thing very, very well, and that is not bother at all with any other part of the Marvel continuity.
A little bit, to an extent, yeah.
Yeah, and then, Michael, they fucked it.
Go on.
Because they went and bothered with the continuity towards the end, or so I'm told.
No, not really. So I've seen all of Agatha all along, and it was a breath of fresh air.
Yes.
The last 4 years of being a Marvel TV fan, and I don't really consider myself a fan of anything, funnily enough, even though I just spent that whole time talking about Transformers. I like individual pieces of media, and some franchises have shit in them, but there's been a lot of shit out of Marvel TV for the last few years. That's either been purposefully divisive, accidentally divisive, rubbish, boring. Echo was on. Remember Echo, Benjamin? I watched.
No, I don't. I never watched it, Michael. I don't have to remember it.
Yeah, I haven't even seen every episode of Echo. I've seen every episode of Cloak and Dagger and Hellstrom, Damien Hellstrom. I've seen every episode of those shows, but I haven't seen every episode of Echo. I just can't finish it. And I thought Agatha was great. It's not perfect. It's not an incredible TV series. It is a bit of a mystery box. There is an urge to go back once all of the mysteries have been revealed and watch it again with the mysteries in mind and go, oh, they did. That was there. Oh, I am a big a-dum-a-dum.
Oh, it's a me, a dum-a-dum.
It's a me, a Mario, and I'm a big a-dum-a-dum. I thought it was good. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I liked the performances. I like that when characters died, they stayed dead.
That's important.
It's very important to me. I thought it was good. I thoroughly enjoyed Agatha all along. Would I base 10 years of my very personality around it the way I did with Avengers? Absolutely not. But I don't know, Benjamin, if that says more about me or the current cinematic and televisual landscape.
Yeah, I think it's probably the current televisual landscape. I thought this, Michael, was very interesting. I thought a lot of lessons were learned. I think Loki is only having a positive impact on some of Marvel stuff where they're like, oh, a strong visual identity might actually help our shows.
Yeah, why don't we try and make it good?
Why don't we try and make it good? And I think it's probably important to note, Michael, that this is a very worthy successor to what was, up until that, my second favourite Marvel TV show, which was WandaVision. WandaVision was great up until the last 2 episodes.
The last 2 episodes where it all went a bit Marvel.
Yeah.
This turned out to be, and there's spoiler adjacent things here, but this has been out since last week now. This turned out to be much more of a sequel to WandaVision than I think any of us thought it would be. It's very, very, very much the sequel to WandaVision. It's actually, broadly speaking, the same. It's not the same concept in terms of character or anything like that, but
Same journey.
it's some of the same journey. But also, without getting too heavily into spoilers, it's the same powers are involved. The
Yeah.
same. It's very much in the same universe, and it's not like we thought, where that episode 1, which was inexplicably Agatha in the Scandinor police drama, and then forget all of that WandaVision stuff. Now we're doing a show about witches and magic.
Yeah.
It's actually not really, is it?
No, they've done quite a good job of giving it an old true line, Michael.
Yeah, there really is. This is genuinely a sequel to WandaVision. They could have called this WandaVision Season 2, were it not for the fact that Wanda and Vision died
And they
in Season
fucked
1
it.
and between.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, look, it was a good old-fashioned time. Michael, I think you're out of time.
That's it, we have to go.
We have to go. Ladies and gentlemen, there are a few different things you can do. First of all, did you enjoy Peak as a concept? You can let us know your Peak Venom down below in the comments. You can leave us a comment on Spotify. We're getting comments on Spotify now, Michael.
I
Got
love
one
comments
last
on
week's
Spotify.
episode from a very kind listener who said that their favourite bit in that episode was when I fucked up setup. So I loved that. That was great for me. So you too could bully me online, ladies and gentlemen, by leaving us a comment on Spotify or wherever you listen. Also, give us a review wherever you listen. But there are a few ways you can get in touch with us if you don't want to leave a comment. You can find us on the interwebs at www.seomrabeag.com, SEOMRABEAG.com.
It means tiny room in Irish, kind of.
Sort of, maybe a little bit. Michael is showing a little pixelated version of Venom from a gaming manual, ladies and gentlemen, on the screen there. You'll only be able to see it if you hop on over to our YouTube and subscribe and follow along, where you can see that kind of thing whenever you like. Ladies and gentlemen, you can also find us on Instagram at Sherlock Podcast.
Give us a follow.
You could, yeah. You can also find us on TikTok at Sherlock.
That's where all the weirdos are.
They're all there. They're all there. Come and hang out with us. But ladies and gentlemen, the best thing to do is to hop up onto the Discord, which is linked below in the description, where you can join in with our chitty-chatty about all things pop culture. You'll find it below in the description. You'll get early voting on various segments like Exhumed, where we take a look at old movies, or The Quintessential, where we take a look at great series. Speaking of quintessential things, Michael, next week
Yes.
we're taking a look at the quintessential Farscape, that oh-so-90s sci-fi series that made everybody go, Muppets in space?
Muppets in Space in Australia?
In Australia. Ladies and gentlemen, the quintessential is our series where we take a look at the soul of a show in 5 episodes. What really boils down the essence of a show into its core components. Give us your 5 picks for Farscape. It'll be up on Reddit later in the week. It'll be up on our various social medias. You can go and give it a vote. Go check it. Somehow, ladies and gentlemen, you're not sick and tired of the pair of us.
That's deeply concerning. What's happened there?
Oh, you've had a little freeze, Michael.
Yeah, you froze, Benjamin. You froze
Right
in like the
in.
last second.
Right, that's interesting. But ladies and gentlemen, you can check out Collecting Issues, our monthly comic book club, where we talk about all things comic books. Our Discord's getting kind of popular. Hop up on there now and say you were part of something as it started. We took a look last month, Michael, at that most amazing of horror series, The Nice House on the Lake by James Tinney and Iv.
Great stuff, Iv.
And Alvaro Martinez Bueno. And next month, Michael, we're in November, we're taking a look at Friday, books 1, 2, and 3 by Ed Brubaker and Marcus Martin.
Is it not
1, 2, and 3, because it's 9 issues, Michael, across 3 goddamn books.
Is it? The sons of bitches.
Nicking stuff out of our pockets, Michael. But, ladies and gentlemen, there might be a giveaway later in the week. So you should go and follow our social
exciting.
medias for that.
Woo. I have to go.
Yeah, go, man. Get out of here. Jesus.
I have to go.
God, get out of here. Fuck's
All right, I
sake.
can't go because I can't stop the recording. 'Cause then you-
Scram.
Okay, I'm going.